right, welcome to The Boost, conversations with people promoting mental health. And I should call this conversation with a friend promoting mental health. I consider Jennifer Christensen a friend, CMO and co-founder of Beacon Media and Marketing. Jennifer, it's so great to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing so great. As I was saying, it's a beautiful sunny Alaska day, which we only get about 100 a year, so we try to enjoy them in full. Good day, for sure.
Nice. Good day. Beautiful sunny day. It's a beautiful sunny day here too. We're in Nashville, Tennessee, or just south in Franklin, Tennessee, and I call it San Diego weather today. It's like 72 and sunny. I prefer the cold rather than the hot,
I didn't know
so
that.
these are
Okay.
my happy. Yeah, when it gets humid here in the south, I go inside is what I do. But yeah, I don't mind it cool. Or I was in Seattle the other day and it was rainy.
Yeah.
And so I just put on my slicky and my hat and went outside and walked to a coffee shop. I don't mind that at all. But I don't like when the rain is my sweat.
Yeah. I can get that totally.
Getting really personal here.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Well,
I love
I,
the boost. It's a great podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. You're a great guest. You've been on before when in our first iteration, and so we just had to have you back in the new studio. And you're piping in from Alaska. Here we are, and we always start the same way, which is two questions: the virtual hug and the shameless plug. So the virtual hug is, tell us somebody or something you're grateful for today.
I am so grateful for my children. I'll have to do all three. They are all good humans and they're grown, and I'm at the phase where I get to be friends with them. I'm really grateful for that. It's a really sweet time of life.
Are they in Alaska or where are they?
My son and younger daughter are in Alaska. They're both still in college here. And then my oldest daughter is in New York City. So she is far away.
Got it.
But
Oh,
yeah, she's a corporate lawyer there, doing amazing, like living her dream, which is so cool. But we talk all the time.
well, congratulations to you as the parent too. That's I'm learning what kind of workload that is. I have one who's 10, turning 10. But yeah, congrats to you for bringing new great adults into the world.
I'm so hopeful for this generation. I really am. I know there's lots of different thoughts about that. There always is about every generation, but I see such purity, I think, purity in just wanting to do good and be a part of things that are good. And I don't think that's just my kids. I see that in a lot of people in this generation. So I'm excited for it.
Beautiful. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off on the shameless plug, but I did want to hear more about your family. But do tell us about the shameless plug. Tell us what you're working on these days.
Most exciting thing I'm working on right now is a book called The Age of Intelligence, which I hope to have out, like I was saying, in the next few months, or at least get it across that finish line to the editor and publisher. And my workload is, Beacon Media and Marketing, which I've been doing for 13 years, and the CMO co-founder there, and that is my day-to-day work. Although the book is taking up quite a bit every day as well. So that's what I do. It's what I love to do.
I always love to hear somebody's writing a book. I have aspirations of doing that someday. Tell us about how that process has gone and tell us about the book. What does Age of Intelligence have to do with? And then tell us about how it's been writing it. I can't imagine that's an easy thing to do.
It has evolved. I don't think I am not in any way a typical author. I think a lot of people, at least that I've been part of with mentor groups and different communities, they have a definite concept and then they go and do the research and put together this book that supports that concept, or they're writing about, different aspects of their life, so many different ways that people get to that point where they want to write a book. This just really dropped in my spirit last year. And just as I would say it's an exploration of everything that I've been processing about what's happening with AI, and really the spiritual journey and healing journey that I've been on at the same time, and then recognizing that the two completely align. So it's basically the combination of the reformation that's happening in the world on a technology level and a worldly level. And then I believe the reformation that's happening in the world on a spiritual level and how the two connect. So I'm sharing stories of how, like basically listening to myself, like listening to God, like having those conversations, like how that's guided me in everything from business decisions to how I show up in the world, all of those pieces. And then with the reformation of AI as well, and now I'm going into the book. I'm so sorry. You asked me the process. But with the reformation of AI as well, how everything will be more accessible to people, is more accessible to people as far as any information they want. And I believe that is true on both sides. So it's elevating not just us as in the world, but it's elevating us spiritually as well. The process has been really challenging. I'm not a morning person, Steve, at all. Anyone who knows me can attest to that. And one of the things I love about owning my business is I haven't had to be a morning person. I can be more flexible with when I work, and it tends to be in the evening. But in this case, I felt absolutely compelled to wake up in the morning for 2 hours, even if I wrote like one page. And some days that's all I've been able to write. So to wake up and just focus on, okay, I'm going to tell this story about this particular experience, and I'm just going to get it all out and write it out. And then the next day, I'm going to research reformations over the history of time and what they meant and different eras of history. And then I'm going to write about that. And some days it just flows, and literally 2 hours is not enough. It's amazing. That flow state, I think a lot of us know that, it's so special when you get into it. And then some days I write not even a page. So that is the truth. That's how the process is going. Is not, I would be done by now if every day was a flow state, but it's not.
Yeah. Oh, if every day could be a flow state, take me there. I would do that. I've never heard anybody who lives in that state. Maybe yeah, maybe the Buddha after sitting under the
Right.
Bodhi
I was
tree
just
and
going to
leaving
say, I
everything.
think that's what they're going for, right? Is that they're trying to achieve that. So, um, I have had a lot of people ask me, like, what does this have to do with marketing? And I do think it has to do with marketing, because marketing is communication of ideas, and marketing is, you have to know what your point of view is to be able to market something. And you have to have a strong point of view. And this is changing everything in marketing. So to me, it all fits in as far as my world goes.
So, and thank you for diving into the thesis of your book. I mean, no apologies there. I love to hear it, and I actually want to dig a little bit deeper into that, if you don't mind. That word reformation is pregnant. It's a ripe word. Talk a little bit more about why you chose that, and some of the ways that history has rhymed across time, and what you're seeing now in this largely AI driven reformation, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of feelings about AI, and I know a lot of people do. And so I'm not going to go necessarily into that. I'm just going to try to really answer your question, because it took me a lot of processing through, obviously, the fear, how AI can be used for bad. Like, there's so many different things we can think about it, right? But where I've gotten to now is really
Yeah.
looking at history. And to me, it's incredibly fascinating how much history, when things change in the natural, meaning the printing press came about roughly the same time, within 100 years of when, Martin Luther and the whole establishment of a different version of the church, right, happened at the same time, and how those two things collided to literally change, the entire earth. So that was a time of great reformation on a spiritual level, of how we even looked at, or how people even looked at their relationship with God. Was it, just through somebody else telling them about it, or was it their ability to actually read about it and have that personal knowledge themselves? So if you almost have to ask, would that Reformation have happened spiritually throughout our whole world if there wasn't the printing press? Like the two to me were completely tied, and that's what I believe we're in now. So I think it's the same thing. The way that technology has exploded, having access to all information at anyone's fingertips, being able to have this creative idea or this inspiration or this thing come to you, and even though it isn't quite there yet, I think we can all see very soon, if not somewhat now, that can be expressed in a way that most of us never could before, and or communicated in a way or learned about all of that. So I believe the two match. I believe that it's a time in history that we'll look back on, the reformation of artificial intelligence as well as the reformation of spiritual intelligence. So the not that AI means that we access God more, but I think that people will start tuning into, and I'm even starting to see evidence of this in the younger generation, but they'll start seeking, well, what is really true? Like, what is, like, how do I know what's true? How do I seek that for myself? How do I have that relationship spiritually? As opposed to looking to other people to stand in the way of, or to be a guide even of how to access that. I think people are going to be accessing it directly. And we are seeing evidence of that.
Yeah, yeah, and these are the big questions, and the questions that certainly we've been wrestling with since the dawn of humanity.
Right.
But you're saying this is full access, and it's not. Yeah, it's not really AI
No.
as the topic. It's sort of one of the conduits across this technological advancement and innovation that certainly unlocks a wide depth and breadth of knowledge for every person. And your thesis in the book is that this unlock has to do with the spiritual element as well as sort of as much as the physical element or the natural world or the business models and systems that we'll see accelerate. But we also see a kind of a cantilevered approach to a new spiritual awakening.
Exactly. That is definitely what I believe. And even with I don't know how much have you researched like what they've been able to do with quantum at all and some of the breakthrough there?
Tell me. No, I'm not sure I
I
know.
know very little about it. I just know that the breakthroughs that have happened in the quantum research have basically advanced us thousands and thousands of years past where we could have gotten to on our own. And this quantum advancement, so from a physics standpoint, has happened at the same time that the AIP, actually it was AI that helped crack it. So where we couldn't do it ourselves, it was actually the AI technology that helped crack that. And so when we think about, like, most of us recognize that there's something to the world or something to the universe well beyond what we see every day. And so I even share in stories, like one particular story that I shared is back, even actually before I was a Christian, I had an experience where there was this gentleman that my husband and I had met that became homeless. We didn't really know him very well, but we had this relationship with him. And a month later, in the like dead of night in the cold, um, I saw him walking down the road as I was driving home, and like instantly felt we need to go get him. That wasn't my thought. That wasn't like something for me. I was like 11 o'clock at night. We had two little babies at home, didn't have space
Oh wow.
to have somebody stay with us. But additionally, when I got home, my husband was awake. I barely got the words out, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. So, and we did it. And that person was a friend of ours for 30 years until he passed recently. I'm so grateful for that. But that was not me, and that was not him. And so, whatever your belief system is, I think most of us have had some sort of experience like that of knowing there's things beyond what we're aware of. And what I'm seeing with AI is that the people that are really digging into it, it's opening their minds to, wow, I can think on a different level. I can express on a different level. Like, it's not just a tool. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. So I don't know how it all works, Steve. I'm not an expert at any of this. But
Yeah.
is that like awakening of here's what's possible? Is even just that thought of here's what's possible, is that then opening us up to as humanity of here's what's possible in a way we hadn't thought about in another realm as well? I don't know which is first. Like I said, back to the printing press and Martin Luther, like which, how would that all have worked if we hadn't had both? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And for them to converge at this moment of time and for us to
Mm-hmm.
be here and experience it is really wild. Yeah, I don't know enough about quantum or, what's being unlocked with AI, training AI, which is training AI. I really don't know. And it's, you know, it comes up now in every conversation, just about, certainly almost every podcast episode. I'm not transfixed on AI. I certainly think it's an incredible discovery and tool and development. And then yeah, I mean, of course, there's a lot to think about it, in terms of upsides and the SWOT analysis on AI and how
Right.
much we can even control of all of that. But how much of this is coming from how much of this is coming from your own journey, or how has your recent journey over the last kind of year or two, which I've seen across the industry in marketing and now in mental health, be incredibly disruptive? There's a lot of change happening for every person I talk to. Again, I mean, it's such a constant theme is AI, disruption and change, and then the importance of relationships and loving people around us, carrying us through this time. Like it's almost on repeat at this point. But how? So I'll kind of field that to you. Like how has disruption and change and then the people in your life kind of played a new role over this last period of time where we're opening the curtain on this incredible innovation?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think it's always personal, right? On some level, when you start going down a rabbit trail like this, there's got to be some motivation or reason why would I be spending my time on this right now? I have a great job and things that I love doing. Yes, there is no question that, being involved in this for the last 3 years, and I think you knew this, for whatever reason, I was one of those people that, was following Paul at Marketing AI Institute even ahead of the release of OpenAI. And so was already kind of getting this sense that things were going to disrupt. And looking back on it now, I think I was really seeking and hoping that there would be a massive disruption, because my belief is that we're going to look back on this time of this information age that we've been living in and recognize how much of this information age has contributed to the negative mental health of so many people. And even myself, being a very strong person and a person that, is an optimist and believes good things about myself and the world, like sitting in front of a computer 8, 10 hours a day, like I don't think this is what we were made for. And that started to even affect my mental health, right? And it was hard to wrestle with that. Like, what are we doing? We're spending so much time in this digital world. And it's not that I don't feel like the work that we're doing at Beacon is good. I think the work we're doing at Beacon is really important and really good. But there has to be something more than just getting people more therapy. Like, we have to look at the root problems of the causes. And gosh, the stats, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, the 50%, that just broke my heart. Like the 50% of, high school students having thoughts of suicide at some point. That is an epidemic. Like that cannot be solved through more therapists, right? That cannot be dealt with that way. So to me, it was like almost like this leading to this conclusion of, I don't know. There's that picture. I think it's throughout all of history. We all recognize this, of the guy, pushing the boulder up the hill, and then just continuing to push the boulder up the hill. And I'm not in the mental health field of providing that therapy, but definitely all the people I'm talking to and that we're bringing clients in for and all of that, it all matters. But there is this sense of like this problem keeps growing bigger beyond what can even be like handled, right? So I know I'm speaking in like high generalities, but I feel like it's even just me kind of seeing this whole picture of how much need there is out there. I don't know how many people really know that, you know, the tremendous need, how much is not even being able to be served, feeling like, okay, we're doing like 1/1000th part of like our part in the world to try to make that happen a little bit better. Um, but knowing like there has to be something more. So I think that part kind of going on in the back of my head at one time, and then seeing this thing with AI. And my first reaction to AI, to be perfectly honest, was extremely negative. I read some
Mm-hmm.
books of people that were behind it. You know, there's a whole transhumanism movement for some people that are behind it, which is horrific. It is so anti humanity, like on every level. And I was just kind of horrified. Like, wow, this is now taking what's happening in the information age, which is like information overload, and all of us stuck doing emails and, you know, online all the time and everything, and not connecting with real people. Like, this is taking this even worse. But now I'm seeing another path. And that is, you know, and I don't know which way it's going to end up. I don't know that. But I do see another path, which is providing more freedom for people to connect more, for people to have real relationship and community, for people to have time to heal their soul, like you said, heal their bodies, spirit. And that's obviously what I'm very hopeful for. So it's been this like massive journey of just my own experience and thought, and then kind of coming to an awakening of, okay, this could be part of a really amazing solution. Um, I'm not telling you I have the answers. That's just the more of us, I believe, that are using it for good and really focused on that part of it. Obviously, we're all part of then it turning that way. So that's our
Yeah.
responsibility.
That's the responsibility. That is the work we have ahead of us. I can tell you're doing the deep work on it in your own way and from your own experiences, and from a place of love, which is what I've known about every interaction with you that I've had, is that you're caring for the people around you in a way that's net positive, that's pouring out. I mean, you've poured out into my life. That's what I can say. The conversations we've had, and that generosity and thoughtfulness, and not needing it to be perfect. Not needing for either of us to be perfect
No.
is a wonderful, one of those wonderful pillars, I think, of interactions with you, is that we can move forward not knowing every answer, and but moving forward on this journey.
Yeah.
But what a journey. And I don't know, I don't claim to be an expert in this field at all. But it is fascinating to watch, and it's hard to be a poet when you're a farmer. Like it's hard to do deep work mentally when you're plowing the fields. And some of the work that we've been doing in the last couple of decades, I think the study is that the average US adult spent 20 to 30 hours typing a week, which is like basically a full-time job of putting words onto a paper or into an email at 60 words per minute. And I mean, you simply compare just that to what's possible now
Right.
compared to 10 years ago. And it is light years. I mean, it is universes away from tick, 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 tick. That's what we all did for like a decade.
Yep.
And then there was also this commitment to everyone being in the workforce, in the sort of quote unquote white collar workforce as much as possible. And this kind of bowing of our heads to technology in some physical ways, if you look at how people use their smartphones, but in figurative ways as well. And now here we are at the cusp of maybe this great unlock, and what that means for what light speed ride we're all on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I don't have answers for it, but I think that's kind of where we all are, is like this groping around in the dark with this light that's starting to kind of pierce through for some of us, for you.
So, one thing, just even to what you just said, that I do want to share, and I hope this is a real encouragement to people. So, one thing that we've done at Beacon recently, and this is so against our nature, you guys, it's not how we operate normally. We literally have like taken our boat out of the water and we're doing what we call deep dock and dry dock. And what that means is that we have a set period of time between now and probably August, September, where we are like going deep into everything that we do and really making sure that everything we do aligns with how we want to show up in the world, the type of, not just the type of agency that we want to be, but who we really want to serve, how we want to serve them. How does this align with our values, right? All of those things. Like, we're taking the time now to do the things that we should have done in the beginning, but the business just took off so quickly that we really didn't get to like have some of those conversations. But it is such an antithesis to, if you can get my visual on this, it feels like there's like speedboat after speedboat after speedboat, going by us right now, because we've taken this choice to just, no, we need to like really know what we believe and then be able to fully own that point of view before we like take off into this world of AI. And if most of us are in that place of kind of questioning, I think it's hard to do it, but I think it's the wisest thing to do, of just like, what do you know? What do you want to focus on? Because we all hear this term of like, AI is only as good as the prompt, right? So if you take that same concept, what you do in the next 10 years, if it doesn't have a deep foundation of why you're doing it and what you want to be a part of, I don't want my next 10 years to be sitting at a screen 50, 60 hours a week again. And so that's part of that whole conversation that we're having as a company. And we have an incredible team. Like, they're just on board for this. And it's not that we're not using AI. I want to be clear. Like, we have AI in a lot of things we're doing. But instead of us spending so much time trying to like develop the next, cool little thing, we want to get ourselves together first and then really push out with that. So I hope that encourages somebody who's listening, that you don't have to have all of that figured out, but I think it's important right now at this time in history to kind of have yourself figured out.
It's encouraging to me, and it's wildly important, I think, because it's like watching the pro golfer at the top of their game reinvent their swing, because you're an Inc. 5000 award recipient. Like, most of the companies in the country never sniff that, and here you are, year after year of growth, and then to have the wherewithal to say, ooh, this is one of those moments where you definitely slow down and you reconfigure and you look at how things are being built. It reminds me of I think it's Jeff Bezos quote, like, tell me the things that aren't going to change in 10 years. Like, you're looking for those deep rooted, again, pillars of services and experiences that you can provide your clients or whoever you're working with or whatever you're doing. I mean, it sounds like you took the boat out of the water. You are thinking in kind of every direction possible about what the future looks like for you, with a bright team and an indescribable future.
Yeah, it's scary. Like, when you've been growing really fast year over year. So like, our projections for this year is, maybe we end up about 10% ahead of where we were last year on purpose, right? So the last couple of years, that 50, 100% growth every year, like, that's addictive in a way. But you end up
Oh yeah.
like, you don't have time to do this type of thing. And I am really proud of us. I wouldn't say it's because we really wanted to. I think it's because Adrian and I and Ken were like, we need to do this. Like whatever we move into next, how much we embrace AI, how much we don't. I mean, we could go totally the other direction, Steve. We could be like, the world's going with processed foods, and so we're going to start an organic food company, right? I mean, organic food
Yeah.
companies didn't really like take off until like processed foods became everything. But we have to decide that because we definitely see that this is a pivot point, and we want to have that so that we can also help our clients because they've got to all make the same decisions. Like everyone's kind of in the same boat. We all have to make decisions right now about what we're going to do. Exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. It's the evolution, and it's the evolution of how are we going to make this change? And sometimes slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And,
Yeah.
sometimes we need to slow down in order to speed up. We need to inhale so that we can really have that force on that next breath. I'm going to take a quick break
Yeah.
here, and then I want to come back with more with you. We'll be right back with more from Jennifer. At Term Productions, we craft experiences that connect, engage, and inspire. From dynamic conferences to powerful storytelling, we bring ideas to life through planning, production, and promotion, so your audience doesn't just listen, they remember. Ready to make an impact? Let's build something unforgettable together. Visit turn.productions to get started. All right, we're back with more from Jennifer Christensen. And Jennifer, we were talking off camera just now about a continuation of where we just left off, which was this is deep work, and let's be honest, this is hard work, and this is messy work. And as much as we like to put a gloss on things and put a nice outfit on it, you were in some heavy times. Like what do you feel comfortable sharing about sort of the trenches that you went through as you dug through this work and this discomfort? And I just applaud you for doing that work. Typically, the messy work is where we find the diamonds, in the rough. But talk about how that was like for you, kind of doing your own discovery process.
Yeah, as I was sharing, I did go through what I would call a dark night of the soul on this subject where I had been speaking about AI in the beginning, 2022, 2023. And then I just hit this point of a good 6 months where I just wanted nothing to do with it. And it was just, I don't even want to deal with this right now. Like I have too many other things going on in my life. And what really brought me out of that, so I'd like dabble in it here and there, but I really took kind of a break from it, definitely speaking about it. And what brought me out of that finally was this awareness that I was having like almost an emotional traumatic response to massive disruption and change, in my career, in my life, recognizing that this was going to change everything about our business. Like you said, we've been on this trajectory for a long time. And it, not just that, but just, things that I was comfortable with. Even though I didn't like sitting in front of a computer, 8, 10 hours a day, and I didn't like some of the parts of, doing digital marketing, and there's pieces of the industry I definitely have had issues with that I don't necessarily align with. It's comfortable. And so I really had to one face, okay, this is my own stuff. And I went back to therapy and I went back to, talk with a couple of really trusted mentors that I really value and work through my own feelings about that. And then it was just this realization after I'd done some of that work of, okay, I cannot ignore this. Like I'm here on this planet right now at this point in history for a reason. I want to be part of a solution to it, and I'm certainly not saying my part is huge. I have a piece of it, right? A small piece, but I want that small piece to matter. Definitely at that age and that point in life that I want to do things that I feel like make a difference in the world. So that was just finally what brought me out of it, and people coming to me and asking me questions, and, that helped too, kind of spurred me on like, okay, if I'm a little bit ahead and I can help somebody else, that's a good thing. But that was really it. What brought me out of it wasn't necessarily like I'm so excited about like the tools necessarily. what brought me out of it was I want to be part of this conversation. I want to use it for good. I want to see it be used that direction. And so I have a responsibility. Like each one of us has a responsibility. Like no one's coming to save us on this. Right now, like our own government hasn't even put any guardrails in place. I remember that being talked about back in 2023 that, that was going to happen immediately. Not happening, right? So like, if nobody's coming to save us, then it's up to us to decide what we want to do with it. Do you want to fall for I don't know, the cheap get rich quick thing that's all over online right now? I don't want to do that. Do I want to like be a part of something that it can help create that's really valuable, that helps people have more freedom and prosperity and all of that? Yes. So there was some dark times though. I remember being at my parents for Christmas and
Some dark
yeah,
times.
they wanted to talk to me all about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been speaking about this. Like, tell us about it. We want to understand. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk about that. Like, don't bring that up.
I don't want to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up. You've been the one thing I respect about you and appreciate is you're an early adopter. You're early. You're on the front edge, and correct this take in any way you
Sure.
want. But listening to you, I'm realizing I think I would classify that as a mourning process. Like once you started getting into the work, then you realized, oh, something has died. Something is gone forever.
Yeah.
And then you went through, and again, totally correct me, but you went through 6 months of mourning
Yep.
where you said that's the denial process of mourning. And then you start bartering, and then you start into acceptance. And it's really fascinating, Jennifer, to hear you talk because it's a conversation I've never had with you before. It feels like it feels like you have leveled up somewhere. I've always had a lot of respect for you, and it doesn't change. But it does feel like you're operating in some new plane a little bit.
It's definitely felt like that. I've been, my husband actually said to me a couple weeks ago, and I don't take credit for any of this. This is where I'm really giving credit to the spiritual side. But he said to me, like, what has happened to your brain? Like, you're just seeing things on such a different level that you haven't seen before. And I don't think that's super common for women in their 50s to achieve, like, it's like a regeneration that's happening right now. And I do think that all I can say is I feel like I was willing to go deeper and go to places that have been incredibly uncomfortable for me. And I was willing to sit in it for quite a while and just pray a lot as well. Just really like, okay, I don't know what my part in is in all this, or like even what point of view I should have. I really need to like dig deeper. And like I said, now that's kind of happening at our company. But that is like the personal process that I've gone through over the really like the last year and a half of I've got, a finite number of years left on this earth, who knows how many. And if I'm going to do something with this, like I need to make sure I'm showing up with like emotional intelligence and awareness and not fear and not trying to prove anything to anybody or people pleasing or any of that. So yeah, this feels like important work. Feels like it matters. So yeah, thank you for that.
Feels like it matters, and you tap into just kind of an observation that hit me while I was listening. And you're tapping into a higher power, a God sensibility of asking for help. And that's another theme that keeps coming up is this critically important need to ask for help at certain times, and to be able to say, I don't know, even in our own mental health journeys, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe I need to get some expertise in here with a coach or something like that. I think you mentioned you have a mentor, at least one.
I have a couple. I've some
Okay. How did
phenomenal people.
you
Oh
have a
my gosh.
couple?
Yeah. Only one that I see like on a
What do you get?
paid basis, but the rest of them, I have a friend group, Steve, that is like next level. I mean, wow. Like, yeah,
Nice.
something I wanted my whole life, and it just has happened over like the past 10 years, really putting
Oh,
in the effort. But
oh.
man, when you get people that will just speak truth, like hard truth to you, and you can speak it to them, and there might be a minute of like, ugh, but overall, like that you're
Hmm.
absolutely for each other, and you just want to see each other succeed. I mean, there's like zero jealousy. I want this for everybody. Like, I think that probably has had one of the biggest effects on me, just even being able to get to a better place of thought process and career, and even working on something like this, because I have people that believe in me. So yeah.
Wow, that's huge. Do you all get together in person, or
Yeah,
is it a Zoom chat? How do you do? Is it a text thread?
we
All of the
do.
above.
Yeah, we do a prayer call once a week, and then we tend to get together, like for like in person at least once a week as well. I mean, one of my friends, Rosalind, like she's incredible. I struggled with like food issues and like health issues for a good portion of my life, just having a bad relationship with food and my body and everything. And she literally just came. She was a chef, and she just came over to my house week after week after week, 3 or 4 weeks, like showed me how to really cook like good food from scratch. I mean, that's a real friend. That's somebody who's like, I'm going to take what I have to help you win. And it did change. Like my health got way better, my weight loss, all of the things, that come out of the root of like knowing what good food really is versus processed food. So I know that's like a random
Hmm.
side, but just an example of like, just
No, it's not.
when you have
Yeah,
people like that, like you feel like you can kind of do anything, so
yeah.
yeah.
I was at this addiction treatment leadership conference, and there was a person there getting a lifetime achievement award, and he said, "You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up." And so, your friend, yeah, I was like, "Well, I'm done."
So
Your
good.
friend showed up, maybe without you really asking. It sounds like. I mean, I'm
Totally.
sure you had permission. You opened the door, but this person poured into your life, and there's something about this consistent cadence of the cadence of consistency
Yeah.
is community. And so this friend group, well, we pray every week, or this friend, I'm going to come over and cook for you, and doing it without being asked is a beautiful thing, and it's part of the magic that we don't have to be in person. We were talking earlier about in-person experiences and how it's going to be hard to fake those, for a while. That's going to be one of those things that we can sort of rely on to know this is reality. This is really happening. This could almost be I could almost be faked right now to the point of non-recognition. I think in a conversation with you, I'm actually really here, Jennifer. Just so you
I'm
know.
so glad. So glad.
What if that was a big reveal? Is
Oh
that
my gosh.
that would be awful.
I think I would cry after this whole conversation. Like, yeah.
Well, but even that signals the potential loss of trust, and how important it is, and that's going to be the differentiator. You were saying that was a point you made earlier off camera, I think, but I held on to that because that is that icky feeling right then where you're like, oh no, this too is fake and filtered.
Yep. No, you're up. Yeah, I'm really excited for that piece. And like, just from a straight business standpoint, as I was telling you, I think you're just so on the right track with what you're doing with events. I mean, you obviously have the gift for it, hospitality, but just your timing, I think, is ideal. I am a little surprised, though, that more people aren't tapping in right now and understanding. Okay, so people don't trust anymore. So that makes it very scarce. So when something's very scarce, what does that mean? It means it's very valuable.
It's valuable.
So that is, and we can all see that that value is just going to keep going up and up and up, right? So, like, why aren't we more focused on that? I mean, that is much a prediction of where AI is going. I feel way more confident about that prediction. Like that one, I know that I know because you just hear people, even like when people call us, for like a new sales lead or something like that, you can just feel there's a different weariness that people have right now where it's just, I don't even know. I don't know who you are. Like, maybe they saw a bunch of stuff and so there was like a little bit of trust factor there, or they got a recommendation or something, but you can just feel a different level of weariness of not knowing where to turn and who to trust, and questions being different. So I don't see that getting any better. I see that getting more scarce, which means that anybody who really can work in that area, hopefully really do it well for good and not take advantage of it, of creating
Yeah.
trust and a high level value for what they do. I think that feels like the most successful potential path forward.
Yeah. That's where the that's where the scarcity is in the kind of blue ocean, or the big opportunity to
Yeah,
take advantage of what's so scarce these days
yeah,
and to mine that in a way that's good and not for harm.
right.
Yeah. Well, it's enriching to talk with you, and this is a surprise conversation for me, Jennifer. I mean, I know we work on a business level, and
Yeah.
we're both busy and both supporters of each other. But this is really fascinating to talk with you today. I have to wrap. So as we wrap, the two questions I like to get to is one is what we call the boost, which is what are you doing for yourself these days, mentally, mental health or health wise, that you want to share, something that's either working for you or you're experimenting with or want to try soon. Is there something that comes to mind with your own health, mental health?
Yeah. So sadly, I didn't mention this before, but I've been sick for like the last, like 5 weeks. And just from coming
Sorry.
out of it now,
Ooh.
I never get sick like that. Get colds and things like that, but this has been a whole different level. So I'm bringing that up because all I can really say right now is what's been really working for me is these beautiful daily walks with my husband because I haven't been able to do my normal workout. And that for me has always been like the key to my mental health. I tend to be somebody who like absorbs a lot of energy and feelings and takes in a lot of stuff from other people. I think like maybe empath might be that, I don't know. But so like that physical release of being able to like work out really heavily has always been like the best thing for my mental health. And not being able to do that has been super challenging. But these beautiful walks of just 15, 20 minutes around our neighborhood. And I love our neighborhood. I love people in our neighborhood. We have a really special place in Anchorage that we live, where it's like 1950s throwback kind of. All that brings me joy. Like every day, it's like the extrovert in me gets to see people and talk to them. Like that's so old school, right? But I love it. And then it's just a nice area to walk through, and really beautiful scenery. Um, my
Yeah.
go-to in the past answer would have been, before getting with this bronchitis thing, getting really sick, would have been climbing mountains, and like that is my favorite thing in the world for mental and physical health.
Interesting. I'm just trend spotting another thing while you're talking, which is the person I spoke to before said walks outside, and the person before that said deep breathing. As like the thing. That's an interesting trend. That's an interesting thing I'm going to keep listening to. The same way that most people say the virtual hug has something to do with someone in their life who loves them.
Yeah.
Not in every case, but you did it, and I would say out of the 70 episodes we've done, it might be 68, that talked about the people in their life that they loved. What about I call it content. It's maybe not the best word, but as we wrap, tell us something you're listening to or reading or want to. It could be a song or a record or a podcast or a book, something either in your queue or something that you've
Ooh.
taken in recently that you would maybe recommend people check out. In addition to The Age of Intelligence, which you're gonna finish, you do the hard work, you're doing the hard work, you're gonna get through that finish line, and I'm gonna read it, and I can't wait to see it on the shelves. But yeah, what else has got your attention?
Hopefully going to go to one of his conferences. But Taylor Welch, he has a podcast called The Deep End. And oh my gosh, like talk about transformational. If I would recommend it to just about anybody. You know, not every episode, like he goes, when he says the deep end, he's not kidding. He goes to like hardcore deep subjects uh, when it comes to spirituality and his walk. He's super transparent. Um, but the people that he's interviewed and had on, I've been able to follow up with them, you know, different people that I had never come across before. It's really helped in my even book research. And I love that about podcasts. I love when, you know, you just kind of tune in with somebody and you really align with them. And then of course the people that they connect with, it's like, oh, I never would have, you know, thought of that. Like he had somebody on recently that has deeply researched like how like the 430 megahertz versus like 444, like how it affects our body, and had all sorts of cool research on that. And, you know, I wouldn't necessarily ever go search that out, but it aligns and is super interesting with the stuff that I'm, you know, researching right now. So yeah, Taylor Welch, The Deep End,
Fascinating.
highly recommend.
Taylor Welch. Okay, we'll put that link in the show notes.
Yeah.
And as we wrap, Jennifer, just thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for who you are in my life, and just want to encourage you to keep going. And you're making an impact in the way that it sounds like your life is moving in a direction that's just incredibly exciting and not always easy. Sometimes hard, sometimes dark, and then moments of light too, which is how it is. So I just applaud you and encourage you to keep going. But thanks for being on the show so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I had a great time. It's a great conversation. Thanks for letting us go deep. I really enjoyed it.
For sure. I'm glad we recorded it. So
You too.
I will talk to you soon, and that's all for now. Till next time.